My name is Amelia Prempeh. I live in Toronto, Canada. I work as a career strategist for a private computer institution. When I'm not working, I like to stay in shape by jogging. My true passion is traveling. I'm fascinated by different people of the world, the different cultures, food, and personalities. I wanted to visit Finland because I heard the people there lived closer to nature, more so than other Europeans. I especially wanted to meet the native people, the Sami, who are descendants of the original population of Finland. I was really looking forward to this trip. But even though I was excited about this opportunity, I also had some concerns. I was a different person going into a different culture. I was a different colored person going into a different culture. How would I be able to communicate? Would they like me? These were some of the things I was going to have to deal with. I was struck by how much the landscape looked like Canada, but Canada's far from Finland. Finland is a Scandinavian country in Northern Europe, situated between Russia and Sweden. I was going to the far northern region of Finland, known as Lapland. That's where the Sami live. After I landed, I rented a car and drove north into the heart of Sami territory. The Sami have traditionally been nomads who raised reindeer in Lapland. Now that the old traditions are vanishing, some of the Sami live in houses and use snowmobiles to herd their animals. I was driving to meet my guide, Osceola, a Finnish woman who was very knowledgeable about the Sami. Although she had a strong accent, I could clearly understand her, and my concerns about being able to communicate quickly disappeared. Osceola was taking me to visit some areas that are significant to the Sami people, and the only way to get there was by snowmobile. We had to travel quite a distance over a frozen lake to get there. And there are a few bumps that almost knocked me off. It was a bumpy ride, but it was a great way to see the landscape. It took about 45 minutes to an hour to get there. By the end, I was really cold and more than a little numb. We finally arrived at the sacred island of Ukko. Ukko is sacred to the Sami people because they thought that the island was the home of a god. They chose this particular island because of its unusual shape.
Oh, here we are, Emilia.
Which way up?
Please follow me here.
When Ursula and I got to the island of Ukko and started climbing up the hill, I thought to myself, what am I doing here in the middle of nowhere? Even though my jogging keeps me fit, it was still a daunting climb to the top of the hill. But Ursula reassured me. I gained confidence in her skill and put my trust in her hands. I began to realize this was the beginning of our great friendship. Tired.
Whoa.
It's cold up here.
Are you very tired now?
Yes, I am. Very tired now.
Me too.
But maybe I think if it's any case, it's so windy, I just thought that we take some.
Okay.
Right, so.
I didn't know Finland was so hilly. What are those mountains or hills out there? Where is that?
It's called Otsamo Mountain. And the village Inari, that is down a little bit to the left. When we came by snowmobile here, it takes about 10 kilometers.
Well, it's beautiful. What's the significance of this mountain here?
This has been a holy island for the Sami people.
Mm-hmm.
The name for this island is Äiji, what is in Sami language. Means an old man or grandfather. In Finnish the same name is Ukko. But Ukko means also in Finnish history and Sami history a god.
Mm-hmm.
And we remember when we were driving from long distance we could see this form. It has a special form.
Did they come and worship this island here?
Yes.
Because it had a special form.
A special form.
Mm-hmm.
And they later, some 100 years ago, in Finland, we have found here some rest of animals.
Oh. So they brought sacrifice, like
Yes.
human sacrifices. Human sacrifices too?
Yes. no, not that. Only animals.
Only animals, eh?
Yes.
Yeah, I see. Do people pray for something special?
Yes.
What if,
They was praying for the good fishing time, this lake Inari, because that was very important for them. And for the good year for the reindeer. Not too cold, not too warm.
it sounds like the Sami people are very much like the native people in Canada.
Yes.
The Inuit, the native people up there, where they seem to have like hundreds of words for the word snow.
They have the same, over 100 words for the snow, for example for the reindeer also. If I take the Finnish word reindeer, it's poro. It's only poro, but the in Sami language they can say in one word what is the color for that reindeer, how old is it good or not so good. It's the history about the Sami people. It's still unknown exactly. I can tell you only that it's many thousand years ago.
To better understand and appreciate the Sami culture, Ursula took me to another island, a sacred Sami burial island. Like other native cultures, the Sami were subjected to humiliation by being forcibly converted to Christianity, and their religious traditions were made illegal. The graves on this island adhere to their Christian conversion while still maintaining respect for their own culture. Ursula told me there are graves on this island that are over 100 years old. But the Sami may have been burying their dead here for over 1,000 years. Okay, this seems like a very old cross. What does it say on here?
I can read here that here, San Valle. And Valle is a very typical family name, this area. And the month, date I can't see, July or 1895.
Why did they bury people on this island in the graveyard?
In old days, they came by boats because in summertime it's always risking of the animals, wolves, foxes, so on. They can go and try to find something to eat. Terrible to say.
So they would dig up the bodies.
Yes, and island was a place animals couldn't go.
I see. Is this the only grave area, or are there other crosses around here?
Other places are here also. Let's take a look here.
Okay.
We can find.
Are the Samis the minority group in Finland?
Yes. And we have about 6,000 Sami people in whole Finland.
Only 6,000?
Only 6,000. And about those 6,500 is living in South Finland. Helsinki, main town.
Okay, and the majority of them are up here.
Yes, here in northern parts, in Inari and then northern, maybe a little bit south also, but most are here.
Were there more before, and they've gone down, or were they always a small group?
Yes, they have been more before, but they have been married with Finnish and that's changed after years.
Seems like they have an appreciation for nature and outdoors.
Yes, they've always been here. The daily bread they have taken from nature. from reindeers,
Yeah.
fish, birds, other animals. It's the only way to keep your life.
So do you feel they give back? Do they have a respect? They have a respect for the land then?
Right. Very much respect for the nature. Not hate, but they don't like people who don't have any respect for the nature.
Do all Samis in Norway, Sweden, and Russia, and here, do they see themselves as Sami first, or do they see themselves as Norwegians or Swedes or Russians or Finns?
I think that you must do that question later to a real Sami.
I was going to do just that. I was going to meet a Sami the next day on my Finnish journey. On my next day in Finland, I met my new guide, Olli, who took me cross-country skiing. Olli was a native Sami who couldn't speak much English. I don't speak any Finnish, so communication was a bit difficult. But that's okay, because I don't ski very well. My skis were 150 years old, and my boots were made out of reindeer. They were not at all what I expected. I had never skied before, so Olli showed me the basics, and off we went. I quickly remembered how important it was to have a sense of humor while traveling. Okay. Olli humored me by moving slowly, very slowly. But I eventually got used to skiing and found it was a much nicer way to explore than on a skidoo. Following behind Olli, I was overwhelmed by a feeling of exhilaration and joy at just being alive. Olli decided it was time to take me ice fishing, which I didn't think I'd be very good at. We left our skis behind and changed into waterproof clothing, and then walked out on the ice. I'd been fishing before, but never ice fishing. But at this point, I was game for anything. Olli used a special drill to make a hole in the frozen lake. Then we had to clear the hole of ice debris to get our fishing line in. I let Olli bait the hook. This was when I really noticed our language barrier. We were just sitting there staring at each other, although Olli isn't too difficult to stare at. At times, though, we were able to communicate a little. We were out there for several hours, and when lunchtime rolled around, I realized I'd be fishing for my dinner at this rate. We waited, and waited, and waited. Oli was very patient, but I was starting to feel a little stiff from sitting out on the ice. This was an everyday occurrence for Oli, but for me, it was something totally new. But we still needed one more fish in order to have enough to eat, so we had to keep trying.
I think I got something.
At last, we were going to be able to eat, and Oli finally smiled. Because I kept falling on my skis, Oli took pity on me and gave me a ride back to our campsite. It was kind of bumpy in that rickety old sled, but I was relieved to be off my feet. After a very full day, it was a pleasure to get back to camp. But even after we got there, work was not over. After all, I did say I wanted to experience the Sami way of life, and camping outside in the wintertime is definitely a large part of that experience. The tent was based on the traditional Sami dwelling called a kota, which looks like a native teepee and can be easily assembled and taken down. Because this was Oli's regular campsite, the structure of the tent was already up, but it still took a lot longer than I thought to get the tarp to cover it properly. At times I felt very frustrated. Oli spoke very little English, and I spoke no Sami or Finnish. Nonetheless, we were able to communicate.
Is it warm inside? Cold in there?
Yeah.
You warm it up with a fire?
Fire?
Yes. Yes, and the deer, the reindeer skin. Okay, this is Finnish.
I thought Oli was a bit of a perfectionist. But I guess when you're sleeping outside in freezing weather, getting the tent perfect really matters.
We shall sleep here tonight? We sleep here tonight? Okay. Let's go get our sleeping bag.
Finally, my day was over. I was very tired and looking forward to going to sleep. It was disappointing that I hadn't been able to talk to Oli about his people and their history. But I certainly got an idea about what Sami life is like. What I didn't realize was that this included sharing a tent with Oli. Waking up to the sunrise in Finland was magical. It was a wonderful experience to live the Sami life, if only for a short time. I was sad to see my journey end, but after several days in the wilderness, I had to return to the city. The Finnish people made me feel comfortable and welcome. Just like my guide Ursula, even though we were from two different cultures, we could talk about anything, just like any two women, anywhere in the world. Or like Oli, Despite the language barrier, we were able to communicate on a basic human level. They were generous in sharing their culture and opening their homes and hearts to me. After traveling, when you've managed to get over your fears, what you remember and cherish are the unplanned events, the little accidents, like learning to ski on a pair of 100-year-old skis. On my way back to the airport, I found myself drawn towards the sea. I really didn't want my journey to end so quickly. As I looked out over the sea, I realized why I love to travel. It's as if each time I go away, I find a little piece of myself. I gain better insight and realize how beautiful the world really is. And I realized that in this world, even though we are all a little bit different, I feel deep down we're very much the same. Traveling to Finland made me realize that I can do anything, anywhere. We're only on this earth for a short period of time, and in life, it is the encounters with others and overcoming our fears that makes our lives full. I know this is the beginning of many adventures.